everybody, to the next episode of Nerding Out. Today, it's just going to be Nathan on the couch with me. Matt and I went ahead and did some little tidbit things here for what this episode is going to be about, which is AI art, or not art, if that's the kind of person that you are. Him and I played around with a bunch of AI things, making stories, doing art, and things like that. And Nathan and I, since Nathan was unfortunately injured at the time that we were going to be recording this, we are now doing it today with just him and I discussing this and then kind of going over some things that we've seen in the world of art and AI. But past that, let's get into it.
All right. So a lot of people know AI already because I've heard about it for quite a few years, at least the last 5 years minimum, but also the common rise of image AI, image generation. That's what really threw AI into the limelight of everybody. It was the first time I think the entire public eye didn't have a choice but to acknowledge that AI is here and things have changed. And I still think it's, funny name for it, artificial intelligence and stuff. It really is a very amazing tool, but it's still not quite as human as some people try to make it as.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes. But there's been a lot of controversy in the last, since probably DALL-E released. That was one of the big ones that kind of got thrown onto the scene, especially in the art world. There's a lot of people that are really pissy about that. And we have some opinions on that we'll get to. But so far, without opinions about good, bad, whatever, what have you kind of thought about, like morally good or bad? What have you thought about some of the image generation? Because that's the obvious one right now.
I mean, honestly, I think it looks fantastic.
Sometimes it's
horrifying.
That
lobe or whatever, LOEB, that constantly, she's in it and it doesn't change some of the facial expressions on it, and you can do some, oh my god, some terrifying things with that. But, in general, you can create backgrounds, you can tell it, I want a mountaintop that has the sunset with these colors in the sunset going, slightly cloudy, some fog in the trees, and I want lush trees, and I want it to be 5 p.m. at night, and it can give you exactly what you want out of that. And I mean, artistry, where you say, I want to take this character and do this and that and blah blah blah, putting something together super quick and easy. Morally, if you're using it for backgrounds or something, for a picture or something like that you just blur the background, the Gaussian blur is what they do in art, just so you can have an easy background to have for whatever it is that you're doing, or a guideline. You want to make a character, but you don't know how it's going to pan out. If it's going to be worth it to put that much effort into it. So it's you know what? I want to make a piratey, female elf who has a sad background of this and that, and put all your details into it, and they make a picture that's kind of like that character, and then you look at it, you're maybe not so much that looks like a little bit of a cluster mess, so let's not make that. Let's kind of dumb it down into something else, and you can take those ideas and put it into a character. A lot of people out there are saying that's not art, what you're doing.
Before we get too much in the moral stuff, let's talk about the cool stuff first. But I get what you're saying. It's kind of good for... You'll live. Go on. It's good for starting source material and just as reference material almost. Is what you're saying. It's it's not an issue at all to you. But before we go into that, because that's a whole other thing we're going to get into, but that's a whole other section. I'm glad that AI image generation is finally here, just because it did throw it in the public eye. Because I personally think that AI has come a long way, but it still has a long way before it's anywhere near usable for reliable uses, other than just fun stuff. At the moment, it's just mostly fun. There's a lot of AI stuff that's going on for scientific calculations and stuff, but that's still that people aren't using that as wholehearted, foolproof numbers coming out of it usually.
I I don't know. I was playing around with the story version on OpenAI, and I just put some random stuff in there, saying that I wanted for Valentine's Day. I wanted a one shot that had pirates, betrayal, and the penguins from the Spelljammer, but I had to put it into basics of saying just like penguins who sell clothing and merchants. I put all that in and said for Valentine's Day. It gave me the most beautiful story, and like, I just want to read one of the lines on here, the very last paragraph that it gave me, because I thought that like summed up exactly what I wanted out of that one shot perfectly. And it says, "This campaign is perfect for Valentine's Day as it includes themes of love, loyalty, and betrayal. The penguins add a fun and lighthearted touch, while the pirate battles and search for treasure will keep players engaged and on the edge of their seats." Like, I won't give you full details of what it told me, but basically, like, you are pirates. You're trying to be the best pirates out there. You have a rivalry pirate group who comes and attacks you, and the merchant penguins come and save you, but come to find out one of your own people works for the rival pirates, and the merchant penguins try to help you accomplish your goal of being like fighting the pirates, getting like your getting back into your best, piratey self. It was really, really good for something that I literally just typed in a bunch of random stuff and it made in 10 seconds.
But would you ever use anything so far right now from AI and post it on social media, or use it immediately without proofreading it or looking at it?
Well, no, I would absolutely proofread that stuff
That's
first.
the point. That's what I'm saying, that AI is still not to that point yet, that it's like a foolproof material. Because humans do plenty of errors, of course, human error. But if you asked somebody to drop a quick picture for you, you would be more likely to probably put that as something on Facebook if you know that person. Like, if you ask me to draw something for you, stick figure or whatever it is about as good as I can do, you'd still throw it on social media much more likely than you would an AI art for before uploading it, usually, like, before looking at it. But that's what I think we're still a few steps behind that final, like, AI is able to do all kinds of stuff for us. We trust it. Stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm still, like, even before I post it, like, I've been looking at the picture that I drew you for forever because I was drawing it. So that's technically me proofreading it before
Well,
I
but I'm
post
saying
it.
if you trusted somebody else to make the photo. Like, if you have told me...
If I gave you the information and, like,
and
you
I
made
drew
it
it.
and then post it saying it's mine?
Yeah.
Oh,
You'd be much more likely, in my opinion, I would think you would allow me to just draw a stick figure and post it on your social media for you, versus you saying to an AI bot, draw me a stick figure and post it immediately. Because you never know what it might break and do.
I would say, I mean, like, technically I've seen AI do a lot of really great things, but, like, I made the grandma character that we were going to use for our one shot that makes poisonous candy. It did not like the word poison, so I had to just say candy. And what became of that, you will see in the video that Matt and I did. She looked cute and adorable and not really what I was going for. So, like, I would have had to, like, the one that I have drawn for that character, I love her. I want her to be a real character that I play one
Sweet on the outside, sour on the inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in the pictures, it literally looked like a grandma that, like, if you've ever watched Game Grumps and they do that Christmas playthrough where the grandma's sitting there, like, crocheting, that's what she looks like. And I was like, that's not a mafia boss.
The seek and find little games.
Don't get the candy on the stairs. It's like the cotton candy's taking over. Yes. Like, I would not trust it to make something and then just post it and be like, look what Amber made. And then it's garbage and be like, oh, wow, there goes my reputation.
So, the reason why I was going to go back to that, I'm glad to see that there is something that's bringing it into the limelight, because it brings awareness two ways. Hopefully, longer strides will be made to make AI better, make it more useful. It is more of a known thing now. It's a lot more people thinking about it, working on it, and using it. A lot more data. But the other thing is that most people still don't care or think about it, but the security, there's a lot of conspiracy theories and all that stuff. I'm not getting into that. I'm saying, but realistically, you have to be careful what you trust people and computers to do, because a computer that's not even an AI, has sensitive information on it. It can be hacked. There's other things that can be done to like computer systems that can be hacked, can be changed, giving too much power to something like that can kind of think, but if you feed it just the wrong information, it can think a very different way. I think people should keep that aware of, like, be careful with AI.
I mean, that's humans too, though. Like, I can give you full details on a character that I want you to create, and then your whole thoughts process and like what you have been raised with and everything is completely different from mine. So you might bring it out a different way.
The difference being, like, feeding it one line of code could change every image, like, right, kind of what they did. So image generators in the beginning, especially earlier ones before DALL-E, would generate just about whatever you wanted. It looked a lot worse, but you could make it generate stuff. And the more modern ones like DALL-E and Midjourney, and there's plenty of other by now, they have changed the coding to where it cannot generate certain images like pornography or gory images, horrifying images. They cut some of the words out, but not only did they cut some of the words out, they made sure you can't use words like it. So no matter what, it can't display certain things, like certain amounts of like red to skin tone, which would mean probably blood. So they've changed the coding. So in the same sense, somebody could come along with enough clearance and knowledge about the software and put another line of code in there, or lines of code, however much it takes, to say every image now is just a bloody, gory mess or something like that, and terrify every human that sees it now.
True as that may be, but like, what harm is that going to do? Like, saying like, when we were trying to do something, you wanted to make a forest, like we had mentioned, said creepy forest. Like, we couldn't use the word creepy, and I couldn't use the word poison candy, so it wouldn't let us do that. It wouldn't even acknowledge our presence for that. Yeah. But like, what's the harm in someone going in there and being like, they can say the word poison, or they can put creepy in there?
Because that's not a harm at all. That's almost like a prank or something like that. I'm saying there are other people, because there are certain AI, they're completely different. They have different uses. Because AI is a very broad term that it means a lot other than just like, hey, cool stuff that, computers normally can't do. AI can get fed code for, like I said, scientific calculations. That there is an AI right now calculating the possibilities for our universe. What it should look like past what we can visually see of our universe. It's calculating everything that we can give it information-wise, every planet, every image that we have, and having it try to build something outside of that and see what the universe might look like. So there's other uses for AI, but imagine if something gets used for security, or the government starts using certain things to crunch taxes. Yeah. IRS or something like that. They get tired of trying to crunch numbers for all these, people trying to do tax fraud and just normal people paying their taxes. They could let an AI do almost all this number crunching and kind of look at trends, and they say, oh, this guy's doing tax avoidance because this is what 90% of the people who do tax avoidance do. What if that goes wrong? That's the kind of thing.
Yeah, but this is not about that kind of like.
Well, no, that's AI. That's AI
True
in general.
As that may be, but we're talking about like the art side of things right now, because like that's, I think personally like that's a great way to use AI.
But that's where this art AI ties in, though, because I think people have realized AI is real and more real than they thought before, and it gives them a chance to think, oh, what about other stuff? Security risks and stuff. And not everybody's going to, but I'm saying in general, people don't just start accepting AI completely. It's just like, oh yeah, it's something I'm going to put in the back burner for
Detroit,
20 years.
The game.
Detroit Become Human?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good tie into the next thing, the morality of it. So technically you could say there's no moral code because it's a computer program and it's not alive.
Well, you're telling it what to do.
Correct. But I'm just going to start with my opinion first, real quick, if you don't mind. It's going to be super short and sweet. I think it is a computer program. It's up to the human completely of whether it's moral or not. It's obviously just a computer. But in saying that, for art specifically, I think it is still art. I don't think it's skillful as a skilled artist It's a completely different thing, skill-based versus just imagination. But it does give people like me, can't do art, to put my imagination out on paper. That is a beautiful thing that I've never been able to do. And I probably won't ever be able to have that skill. I could possibly have that skill eventually if I put enough time and effort into it. But I have so many other things I'm into right now that I won't have the time, and I won't dedicate the time to that. So I think it's good, but I think it's up to the person, the individual person, whether it's moral or not. And then I guess that's for other people to decide.
I don't look at the morality of it. I look at more so like, personally, I love it. I think it's good. I think it's going the right way. I think it's going to help a lot of artists out there. And like, for those of us, like for me, I'm a music major.
And you don't like scenery. You love doing certain
I love
art
drawing
pieces.
people.
Yeah.
I love drawing the emotions and things of a person. I want like a quirky, like one of my StarCraft character. You know, like she's supposed to be a YouTuber or whatever it is in the StarCraft world and messes up everybody's plans because she has to stream at all times because she's a big YouTuber.
Starfinder.
What am I saying?
StarCraft.
My bad. Starfinder.
Little Zerg.
Yeah,
Zergling.
Starfinder. Pathfinder. Starfinder. But I wanted that character, so like, you know, whenever our people are trying to like hide through the ducts of a ship or something like that to go and spy on people, she's got to be live. So she's got her little robot friend being like, "What's up, y'all? It's whatever her name is, and it's time that we're gonna be going to the main baddie," and doing that stuff. Like, I love to draw those, like her quirkiness, her everything.
Yeah, but you don't like doing
the
scenery.
backgrounds. I cannot stand doing my bushes, my trees, and everything look like a kindergartner painted them for their parents to put on their refrigerator, but my person in front of it will look fantastic. But unfortunately for me, whenever I try and do like real pictures, so like there's a picture of one of my characters when she died in the campaign that we were playing. I felt really sad, and I wanted to show like her last moments because no one in the group saw it. She literally got teleported somewhere random and died alone. And so I wanted them to see it, so I drew a picture of her like in that scenario to get it out of my brain and make me feel better about it. But
And make everybody else feel bad.
yes, for abandoning me. But
I
like,
wasn't in that campaign anymore, so I would have helped.
But like, I mean, there was nothing they could do anyway. But like, I couldn't do the scenario because it did it in different, like, it teleported her into like a snowy realm. So she basically froze to death. But like, I wanted to do that, but I can't draw snow. I can't draw a blizzard. I can't do any of that stuff. So I had to take a picture of a realistic place out in Antarctica and like
Blur it
in the background, and it looked foobar because it was a cartoon character with a realistic background that just was blurred just enough to know, hey, there's snow. But like, that's it. And so for those of us who are not very good at certain aspects of drawing or creation or anything like that, I think it's a great thing to help us with guidelines. So like, again, I'm a music major, and I tried so hard in my schooling to create things because I wanted to be the next Nobuo Uematsu for Final Fantasy. I wanted to move to Japan, do my internship through Square Enix, and learn from the best man that I knew possible in that field, and become the next great Nobuo Uematsu. My creativity is here. His is up here. I can't do that. I cannot create, because every time I try to create something, I hear different parts of songs that I've already heard. And while that's a lot of people do that, like John Williams, Nobuo Uematsu himself, they create it in such a way that it's their own. I cannot do that. So I went into more of the editing and like creating the compositions and stuff on paper so that other people could play it. Like something they've already created that I can put on paper so others can do it. So for me, I'm not incredibly creative in certain ways. AI art will help me create the things I want to create.
Yep.
And so that I think is why it's a great thing.
Now, on the other flip side, though, some artists say that if you're just not good enough at that, then you shouldn't be making art. Because, now I will say, when it comes to competitions or bragging rights or saying, you're better than someone than another, it's going to be very, very difficult in the future as things get better and in the future from now to prove whether or not it's AI or not. If it's digital art, they should probably make some signature that makes it to where you can
Put
tell.
some sort of watermark on it to prove it is AI.
But at the same time, though, I don't think you should be able to have bragging rights or win competitions or anything about, that specific part of your art that includes AI generated images. Mm-hmm. Now, versus another human. If it's another AI, it's like my picture versus yours. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool, but it's not something I think it's an issue. But I do think you have to be a little careful with, because everybody else is going to get butthurt, and then we're going to have more problems about if you make like me, I make a picture entirely from AI. I would love to use it in like D&D campaigns or a profile picture for me or something. I can use it for whatever I want. Just like anything I could create, I could do the same. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I should go out there and say, hey guys on Reddit, this is the picture I made. What do you think? This is the AI image I generated. I think it's cool. It's a whole different side of it.
Yes, and I do believe that, like, on those contests and stuff, so, like, again, I've done a lot of stuff in my lifetime. I've gone to school for music, I've gone to school for culinary, like, I like working with my hands, art, in any shape or form. I am not allowed to do most of the contests around here in our local area because I have a degree in baking and pastry. So they don't allow people like us to do that. And then there's one in Kentucky that you are allowed to, but it's its own category where you do like the...
it's like the amateur versus professional.
Exactly. There's an amateur one and then there is a professional one. So if they notice that you are in the amateur one and you do a lot better than normal people, or that, like, there's some certain techniques in that you probably didn't just watch a YouTube video and do, they're going to question it, and they're going to look into your background, and they're going to see that you have culinary or whatever. So there is that in a lot of different places besides just AI art, but like there's ways around it. So you do put a professional one out there besides an amateur one, so that you do have an option to do it. So like there's a gentleman in particular that I showed him a tweet a while back. Like
I wouldn't mention specifics, but yes.
No, I'm not going to say names or anything, because when I tried to look up more information, I was going to mention it with Matt and I on there. I just so happened to bring up their Twitter account. And now you had said, like, what if that person's getting trolled? What if somebody hacked their account and started posting these things? I went pretty far back because it's been a month and a half or so since I saw the remarks that they were putting on Facebook from their Twitter. So I went pretty far back to try and find those. And I don't think that somebody like of that stature would not have noticed that their Twitter account was taken over and putting things like this. So this individual is just a garbage person in general. I did not know that, and I felt very sad after looking at it. But like the remarks they were making specifically on AI art was that it's not real art, and people who say it's real art don't know what they're talking about and shouldn't be in the industry because it's just a bastardization of art in general. What I don't think they understand is that they use digital art for what they do. They do comics, they do covers, they do gaming art for people and stuff like that. They create a lot of stuff for different companies, like big companies. What I don't think that person understands is that they are doing this all digitally. Digital art, Procreate, Photoshop, all of those things. Those were considered bastardizations of the art back in the day when they started coming out. When I was a kid, we didn't have all that stuff like Photoshop and everything to fix up our art. So we did it all on paper, and we had to like do the art ourselves, the coloring ourselves, and do all these techniques to get like the right shininess. Oh, well, I need to like highlight this a little bit. I have a white pencil to make it look a little brighter, like there's light and stuff like that. And once the bamboo like tablets started coming out and the Wacom and all that stuff, like once those started coming out, a lot of people were doing the same thing that they did with AI art when it came out. They were like, oh my God, this isn't real art, you're cheating, you're putting it up on the computer and letting the computer do the work for you, blah, 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 blah. No, you're not. As a digital artist, you still have to outline the drawings. You still have to color and know how coloring works, know how shading and lighting works and all of that stuff to create this. It just does a smoother job at the end of the day. The same thing with AI art. While yes, I know it's not anywhere near like, I have to draw this, I have to do this and do the shading and all that. You still have to have the creativity in mind to tell it what to create. And if you don't put there are people that were putting stuff up on that AI generator. What was the one on Discord?
Spider-Man kissing a spider. It's just another Spider-Man.
That one was weird.
Anyway, it's fine, but it's just like, after that, there were probably 500 images of Spider-Man v. Spider-Man.
Yes. But
it's like everybody latched onto that one real quick.
Stupid stuff like that. And then people creating other different stupid stuff like that. We'll show on here that Matt created one saying instead of a human using a toilet using a human. Or a peanut that it has an allergy to peanuts. Stuff like that. That's dumb stuff that you could create it with. But there are some other ones, and I don't know if I was able to record them while we were doing it because they were going by so fast. People were creating old Japanese-looking oil painting art and stuff like that with samurais doing if you've ever watched Demon Slayer, they do the water effects and stuff when they do their attacks and stuff, doing stuff like that and creating really great backgrounds. There's some DC art on there that people created with some different types of lighting that looked phenomenal. You can do a lot with that, but you do have to use the right words and the right way of doing it to create those. So I think it's just a different form of creativity.
Right. I think it is a visual display. It's hard to call it art per se. I still think it is an art, but I don't think it is a skillful based art. It is an imagination based art, and that isn't skill in itself. Because that's what I have. I have a great imagination. I just don't have a way to put it onto paper or put it into reality. I think this is a good way to put it into reality.
Well, Matt even put a resume up. Or he tried to see if it could create a resume on the one that does the writing part of it, and it actually did. So I know for me personally, I know how to do resumes because I was raised in that day and age where you were learning how to type, you were learning how computers could do things.
Well, just imagine. Imagine if you could say, it would need your information, your address, your phone number, the important stuff that you have to input, and then to say, I want a business formal resume for a VP position or whatever position you're going for, and it could just... Now, this is where it could get very iffy morally if you just start letting it make up stuff. Now, it depends on, you'd have to start putting information in, if you are awarded this at your company, what was your highest level of, that you attained at your previous company, stuff like that, putting information that's important. Or if it lets you just say, hey, this is my name, my phone number, my address. I want a good business formal resume to become a, department manager of this company, and I've never had any experience. And then it just bullshits everything the whole way through. Yeah. That would be dangerous.
But I also feel when especially if you're doing an internal interview, they're going to know you haven't hit any of your goals this year. You have been absent for so many days, blah, blah, blah.
Internal revenue, what do you mean?
If someone were to go for a job internally. So, if I were to
I'm talking about external. So companies have no way of knowing if this person's real or not.
That's what I'm saying,
the scary
part. If it's internal, those people are going to know the difference. They're going to be you haven't done this. But, externally, I feel that there's still, a way to know. It's unfortunately a new way of thinking. You're going to have to do more out there. But, you could kind of tell if somebody was I was CEO of a company. What company? This company. And you look it up and that company doesn't exist.
That makes sense, yes. And there's going to be extremes, but it's that middle ground that's the dangerous part. And that's the same thing about AI art. Artists hate AI art for.
But I also feel there's a way around it for those people. So, I know it's an extra step, but if you're that proud person that says that AI is not true art and it doesn't belong in there and everything, then you would be more than happy to prove that you are the person that created this art instead of an AI machine.
I think it would be good to have a video. video evidence of you actually creating
Exactly.
that
That's what I was going to say. If you are so hell-bent on proving that you are the one that created this because AI sucks and it doesn't like have a place in your competition, then just have a small video of you, like just record yourself doing it.
like a time lapse. But
Yeah.
here's the problem. People don't want change.
No.
And understandably, somebody that's good at their art and good at their craft, they all of a sudden have to change their whole flow of like, think of people that still use pencil paper, and don't have any technology that they need. Now they all of a sudden have to start, doing this because you can make a physical piece, upload it as digital, so that way you can send it into places to be judged and so forth. And AI can do some pretty interesting things to make it look physical too. So AI can be entered almost anywhere. I think there's a lot of options that we can choose to help, like having watermarks or having something digitally a digital signature that's not even on the picture that somebody could say, okay, this was created via AI.
Like, how long did it take to make this type deal?
Well, no, not just that, though, because you can fudge anything. Because humans, as you'll learn, humans are extremely resourceful. And there's not one thing that's ever been put in place that a human hasn't tried to find a way around. So I think that you really will never be able to contain it perfectly. But I do think whenever, I don't remember which art competition, but whenever Midjourney's art won the art contest recently, but almost a year ago, I think now.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
But something like 6 months to a year ago, somewhere around there, I think that was when everybody realized, so it's actually here. It's very easy to mistake. There were some things, if you really start to look at AI art versus people's art, like a human's art, you'll start to notice, but some of it's very
AI
hard.
to see the fakes. This is a lot like Animal Crossing, whenever like COVID was the big thing and they had that new character that would sell you paintings and you had to be able to tell the fakes from the real ones.
Yeah.
And like depending on how you did it, like because you had an art piece now that you could put into your museum.
Mm-hmm.
If you put in a fake one, it would be like, hey. But like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of pros to it. I can see some cons.
I think there's very much more pros to me personally than cons.
And then, like, as we were sitting here talking, something that I had not considered is definitely a con. Unfortunately, like, there was a part whenever Matt and I were doing this and his girlfriend came into the picture and she asked him to create something for her business, which we have had on here before called Purple Fox, where they sell a bunch of, like, I think she has Delta 8 now, but a lot of the gummies
CBD.
and stuff, the CBD oils and the gummies and a lot of other things. Like, I don't know if she still has them, but we had that dragon egg that has dice in it that's soap. And they smell amazing. But, like, she wanted to see what it would do to create a logo, because all hers was like a Purple Fox logo, just like purple and white colors, and then Purple Fox Company on it. But she wanted to see what it would create for her, and so we made one that had it had a fox that was holding like a little bubblegum machine that had gummies coming out of it. So like there were a lot of cool different things and stuff had it. She didn't pay for that. She just put a bunch of words, or had him put a bunch of words in to create that image, and it created one.
I don't see a problem with that.
Well, but you have Fiverr, you have like Facebook, you have all sorts of places where people go and do their commissions and stuff. For our logo here, like I actually used a program. I didn't pay for it, but there is a way to pay for it, especially if you want some of the really good images that you would want to use in your art or your logo. You have to pay for it. And it's like $5 or $10 if you want to do like a monthly fee.
I get what you're getting at right away, but I can show you a contradiction to what you're about to say.
What I'm trying to say is people who make their money on Fiverr, people who do the commissions and things like that, I paid for Canvas or Canva or whatever it is to do our logo, and it made a great logo. It's something that I could not have done in a fast motion or pretty much at all to make our logo or any type of those that we have done. For hers, no way. No, like they were so fancy looking and stuff like that, I would have to pay somebody to do that for me. But now I have AI art where I can tell it, I want this. And some of those cards that we made, the business cards and stuff, they looked pretty cool. Now it's in an angle to where I can't just like take a screenshot of that and use it for our stuff. But like, it does create some really fancy things. Like with
What's so bad about that?
Well, you're taking like money away from people who create those.
You're taking jobs away from people, in theory.
Technically, yes.
Here's a counter to that. Go back to early internet, like 90s, even early thousands. Internet has propelled education forward a lot because you don't have to go to college to get a lot of knowledge that you used to have to go to libraries for, and then some stuff was paywalled behind colleges that wasn't even in the library. And you could say it's slightly different, it is, but in theory it's the same, where they're like, you know, you're going to make professors and school teachers and people out of a job with this stuff. They're still there. They're still there just fine.
Not a lot of them.
Correct. But it also it helps to get rid of a corrupt system in general. Now, a little person on Fiverr, that might be their livelihood, and some things will change. But unfortunately, that's the way the world works. Things do change over time. But I think there will still always be a particular need for a human touch. That will be something that will never go away. I think no matter how good AI gets, there'll be something with the imperfections and the perfection, because there's something that only human can make that you want. Like there's the idea that like if I see something, I'm the only human in the world that sees it exactly the way I do. Whereas AI can make something a billion times, it's never going to be the exact version in my head. That's the beauty of an imagination.
True, but we learned firsthand that people don't always gravitate towards handmade things.
Oh, they still do sometimes, just not in this area. I still think that
When we owned our bakery, we had to fight that ours was better than the grocery store bread because we made it by hand without preservatives. And it was a struggle bus to have people understand that it is better and that we know bread better than the person that works at like Kroger's. But
well, we don't know bread better. We can't judge them, but we just made good quality bread. But point being, there will always be a need for it. Now, I don't want to say that, you know, people don't need to make their living wherever they want. It's just there's going to be supply and demand of jobs. And I think as computers get bigger and better and faster and smarter and all this other stuff, our jobs have changed. Assembly lines. Just think about an assembly line. 80% of the work is done by robotics. Is that a negative? I mean, that's a lot of humans that aren't having to deal with toxic materials like they used to. And so let's go specifically for Fiverr. Somebody that's freelancing art. That may be a dying breed. That may mean that some people just won't make money that way anymore. But there are a lot of other ways to be creative. Photography is one thing that will never go out of style. Because no matter what an AI image generates, you won't be the same as an actual perfect human face in their own environment. Because there have been some other AIs that have been getting people in trouble. They just did an example, and it didn't hurt this person personally, but they just used him as an example. They took 15 pictures of a guy's face, and after that, it was enough to put that guy's perfect face, into different scenarios that put him in normal scenarios, risky scenarios, and like one was like he could be cheating with a woman type thing, a completely different family.
well, that's what is it? The deep fake.
Yeah.
So like where the creators of South Park made that TV show where they put Donald Trump's face on some guy, and the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, this guy looks familiar. I don't know where he's from. And then when it hit me, I was like, is this actually Donald Trump doing this? Because it looked so real. And then come to find out it was that deep fake that they just put his face on there and made him do all the things that they did.
I just
that
don't think
lasted
it's
like 2 episodes.
I just don't think it's going to be as scary as some people say. Oh, we're going to lose our jobs. You might not be able to do the exact same thing you used to be able to do for enjoyment and money. But yet again, that's the way this world has changed, because many people have lost their jobs. Some of them are good, you know, not as many coal miners because we don't rely on as much coal. There still are. But some of it's also automated. Same thing for assembly lines. Same thing for a lot of other small jobs too.
Yeah, but art was already dying. Like, I don't want to say dying, but like it's so much harder to do things in art. Like we have a guy that I work with who went to school for art.
But you can
and they
still
can't
always
do their stuff.
You can still always have fun doing art. Because here's a good example. What was that Okay, Junior's Cheesecakes. They make great cheesecakes. I'm going to say that right now. They make how for millions a year or something like that. They make a lot.
Yeah, they made it for millions of years.
No, they make millions a year.
Oh, okay.
It's like, not
I
millions,
thought you said they made it for millions of years. It's like, sure.
No.
It's not been that long, but sure.
No, cheesecake hasn't been around that long. But they make a lot, and they distribute it around the whole U.S. I don't know if they go outside of the U.S., but still they do a lot of cheesecakes. But tell me this.
I'm sorry. I'm picturing like the little like amiibo things like in the water whenever it's first becoming the fish and everything, making cheesecakes in the water. Go on.
Tell me this. Junior's Cheesecakes, they tasted all right. Their little bottom was weird, whatever. But if you took that
it was
cake
a
off,
cake that was macerated.
but if you took that off, it was actually really
was a good cheesecake.
Yeah, good cheesecake. Have they put you out of business?
Personally, they did not.
They did not. Correct. But they,
Thanks, COVID.
you would probably say that's probably the best generic cheesecake overall. Like, it was good.
I didn't even know they existed.
Yeah.
Until we watched a video on YouTube, and then I was like, oh, hey, they do actually sell
But they're
these.
probably the biggest seller of cheesecakes, I would say, in the United States, I would assume. But then, Cheesecake Factory. They didn't put you out of business. There are still people that want your cheesecake. It's the same idea of buying local. There are Kroger's, there are Walmarts, there are Meijers, there are other places that do run some small businesses out. But there will always be those small hole-in-the-wall bakeries and grocery stores and clothing stores. There will always be a desire and a need and a want for local. Because if you made, just pretend, like Kroger, here, just saying this as an example because I know more about that recently because we shopped there a lot. Kroger's Artisan Bakery. It's not exactly the same, but it's better than the commercial bread, right? The butternut bread. It's better than that.
Yeah.
It is better than that, but it's not the same as truly correctly made home bread. No, I say correctly, but recipe made like scratch bread, like a baguette needs a starter that tastes specific ways, like a Biga starter. So if you do that, it's going to have a good flavor, a good crust, everything. But you can also go to the Kroger bakery and get a good enough. It's better than butternut bread, but a good enough baguette. But people would still rather have your baguette.
Yes. I will never forget, I'm not going to say the gentleman's name, but he was from New Jersey, and he would come in every week and buy 2, maybe 3 baguettes from us. And like, when we said that we were going to be closing because of COVID and everything, it's like, where am I going to get my baguettes now? And it's like, well, you can go to Kroger. It's like, no, I don't want to anymore. It's like, I do understand that type of thing to it.
Yeah.
But like, it is unfortunately going to weed out some people.
It will. And that is the way of the world.
I know. Oh, I know. But like, I know that there is still going to be a need for artists and whatnot because
I think forever there will always be.
For like Matt and his girlfriend, like they weren't looking to get a logo for her business, but it's something that it's like, let's see what it can do. Oh, that's pretty cool. Let's use it. Or like for me, when I'm doing my D&D campaign and I need to make those tokens to use on the board, like I don't want to have to go and try and find a character, or I can type it out and say like, I need a character that looks like this, that has this facial expression, and it'll make it.
Just imagine this too. The fact of what you just said, you need a character, let's just say just a generic wizard, and you find an image online, right?
Yeah.
It's, especially if it was even a year ago, but most images on the internet are still human made. Mm-hmm. They're made at some point, drawn by a human, whether digitally or physically, doesn't matter. But it was human art, right?
Yes.
You found and you downloaded that picture and used it, correct?
Yes.
You did not pay for it.
No.
You did not support that human.
No.
You're already doing things that we would be doing in the future with AI. The human doesn't have to make it anymore, but you're not supporting that artist in the first place.
True, and like I said, like I've already started doing that.
It's not like illegal, but that's why they put it online and they usually put watermarks.
But that's what I'm trying to get at is like I'm using this for a basic thing. I've never had to pay for it in my life because I would just Google search something and pick whatever fit best. Mm-hmm. But now I can go to AI and say like I'm looking to do a noble woman who's kind of a snob. Her hair is always done beautifully, but like is graying. She wears just nice enough clothing. Blah 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 blah. And like they will make a picture of that character that I want.
Did they have blah 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 on the picture?
They have blah blah blah. And then like use that picture to put into the token maker, and then it will create a token for me to use on Owlbear. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to pay for it, but I got exactly what I was looking for in a character. Now, those types of things will be weeded out. You're not going to need that anymore. But people who do like Critical Role and things like that, they need specific stuff.
Let's go more an example, because there are many different levels of artists and art that I think time is not always a measure of quality and of skill. So there are some art and some images that take a long time, and if you do that, fine. Then there are also some doodles that just look hilarious, because there was I don't even not know the video, but I just remember it was hilarious. There was a scene in Critical Role where there's a very charismatic character that Matt voiced, the Black Powder guy.
Oh.
And somebody did a doodle for it, and they didn't want to take months doing this. It was kind of like a video, so they just took all the images and put it in probably Illustrator or something like that, and just mashed it together to make it look like a video. But it went with the audio that was going on in Critical Role, but it was literally just a tiny step above stick figures. Instead of just a stick body, they had rounded bodies, but they were just literally little beady eyes, angry or happy eyebrows, and just like an outline on like a kind of sepia paper color. Yeah. So I loved that. I thought it was cute and like endearing little imagery, and that didn't take quote unquote a lot of skill. It did, because that was a lot more than I would ever be able to do, but I think that's that human touch that will never be lost. That is, you will weed out certain people, but sometimes, like I said, things change and move on, and you have to weed out certain groups. There's always jobs. Like even my original thing I was going for was a Cisco networking engineer. I ended in 2013, and 2013 the cloud exploded. Bye-bye physical Cisco engineers, networking engineers. Oh, they still exist. It's not nearly the growth that they said it was going to exist. I was going through classes anticipating that it was going to have a 10 to 20% growth. They weren't even sure how big it was going to be. And then 2013 hit, and it went like, and it still exists, but not exactly what was promised, but things happen. So I think that human touch will always be something that computer will never, ever achieve. Like, I think, who knows, computers might have some sentience eventually. It's not for me to judge, but I don't think that the human touch...
Can you make this for me? What a pleb. No, absolutely not. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right.
I think that's the difference between
AI.
I think that's the difference between mechanical and organics. Like, we are organic beings, and it's just something that you can't get unless you're organic.
Oh, we could go on about AI art and the basics of it and the morality of it for hours. We thought about doing this in a two-parter since we didn't have all three of us together, but overall, I think it's a great thing. I think it's an awesome way to help people be creative who have never had the opportunity to be creative. For people who couldn't do more than a stick figure, they can now make something that they want.
And make a fancy stick figure.
I think there's a lot of things that we're going to have to do to get it to like where it's not going to be abused. It's not going to be like something that people can just make and win a contest over, for doing absolutely nothing but telling something how to create the thing they want. There's a lot of things that we have to work on. There's a lot of things to look forward to. There's a lot of things not to look forward to that are going to be really hard to accomplish. But overall, I think it is a great step for artists. Not a giant leap yet, but a great step towards it.
I would like to say closing statements that artists, coders, because there's a lot of AIs that are helping with coding, writers, whatever field you're in for creation and art and industry, whatever AI may replace in the future or substitute, or at least do most of the work in the future. Keep doing your stuff. just because, you kind of made it sound like it's getting harder for artists. I think it's not. I think it's just beautiful. Human art is just as beautiful as it ever was. Sure, you can make really cool images with AI, but it doesn't matter how stick figure-y I draw. I still like my little drawings. And whatever you make or whatever every person makes, sometimes it may be hard to distinguish between AI, but keep doing that. Don't worry about your job being gone. Just you keep doing you.
My chibis will forever be somewhere out there.
Just you keep doing you. Enjoy yourself on the journey of creation. That's a trait of humans that I don't think anything will ever replace. But educate yourself on what AI can do for you, what AI can do against you, and understand that I think you need to accept some things with open arms. Maybe keep your wits about you sometimes, but I don't think this is a bad thing at all. I think it's a new thing, and that's why humans are humans.
Things are scary.
Humans always, murder everything that's new or different or scary to them.
Or good, or decent.
Yes.
Or fun.
So don't overreact in that sense, but do educate yourself. Understand what's going on in the world. If you're going to be like me, going into an emerging field that suddenly the balloon gets popped because of cloud networks becoming huge stuff, that would have been better for education. I just believed one college and a couple professors and one advisor that no matter what I was hearing, that, oh no, they know better. And it didn't. So educate yourself, enjoy yourself, and don't worry about it. Just have fun.
Well, for the future of things, we are wanting to do an episode on the 1D&D and the differences between the 5th edition and what is supposedly coming down the pipe in 2024, which is now not too far away. Well, it's a year away. We've got a couple other things that we've got planned here. Hopefully all three of us are going to be back together. Now that the new year's over, we are not as busy, outside of our lives of nerding out here. We plan on putting a lot more effort into nerding out. We're going to be putting a video out, a little trailer, and hopefully a new opening. I'd like to get that done at some point in time. I still want to do an episode, even though it's past the new year now. It is technically the second week of January at this point. I still want to do something on VR, and I want to do something on the differences between that, because there's a lot of people that have New Year's resolutions, and they want to know how to, figure things out, and it's always better in a group, and it's always better when you make it fun. So I think that VR and the, workouts and stuff like that for a lot of people who are trying to get healthier this year need a little bit of help in figuring out where to go. So that is going to do it for today. Check out AI. You've got OpenAI that's got the DALL-E that does the pictures. You've got, I don't remember what they call the writing one.
GPT
that does some excellent writing on there. What was the Discord one? Midjourney. That's the one that we've been playing around with the most, because it seems to do some excellent pictures on there, which you will see throughout this video that Matt and I have created. Check it out. Play around with it. Keep an open mind about it, and just have fun.
Yep.
You can create a lot of cool things in there.
This is all part of understand humans can always make beautiful creations, but this is part of the human experience. Somebody created this very complex software program to do this for us.
And people are creating very different pieces of art in very different ways.
Yep.
But you all have a good rest of your day and your week. Happy New Year, since it is now 2023. We will see you on the next episode. Bye.